Yep. So, I've never seen it in terms of content relating to being sensitive, being emotionally intelligent, whether it be by design or, through genetics or by choice, wanting to live a, more quiet, peaceful life. So again, whether it be by choice or by design, biologically, genetically, etc., to have this sensitivity, this introversion, this softness about you naturally. And I feel like this is especially a video for men, because it's not seen in society as the norm, where it's like, hey, he's a man, he should be acting this way, doing these types of things. Now, obviously, in modern times, things are changing a little bit in that regard, in some ways, but not others, for better, in some ways, for worse, in other ways. Regardless, having this sensitivity, this introversion, this emotional intelligence, this want, if not need, for this softness and slowness and tenderness and subtleness. It's really interesting how you can live that life, you can go into it more and more and more. But there's a sinister flip side to the coin, because it may, and I've experienced this in small doses, it may put you, if you're this particular person, in a position, and you may have eventually developed tendencies of being conflict averse, or being avoidant, being less confrontational. And I'm saying that's a sinister flip side to the peace, the softness, the tenderness, the emotional intelligence, because it's an imbalance if we're avoiding conflict, if we're not pushing, if we're not responding to the natural tensions of life, of communication, of work, of business, of a general flow, an ebb and flow to life itself. This topic originally sparked because just getting out of working at the schools, it was a pretty challenging day. But it's interesting, again, like I've mentioned before, with a healthy dose of optimism and mental emotional neutrality of, look, life is just life, and having a sprinkle of patience as well, especially working with children, but people of any age. Patience in terms of, at any age, we're all learning, we're all unfolding, things are ebbing and flowing, there are upswings, downswings, there are crests of the waves and crashes of the waves and things of that nature. And we would benefit in providing patience for yourself and for people in general. So, having all of that in mind, the mental, emotional neutrality, it is what it is, helps with difficult people, with difficult situations, with difficult circumstances, work days, etc. Because if we don't take it personally, that sets us up for being okay with short-term struggles, short-term pushes, short-term challenges, short-term going against the grain. This all being synonymous of general, we'll call it, challenge. Something comes up. Are we up for the challenge? Will we respond to the challenge with a necessary push back? Right? And I say necessary and natural pushback, not out of anger, but out of necessity, not out of fear, not out of a feeling of a power struggle, but just out of necessity. I'm working with kindergartners, so to use a quote from the Bible, forgive them, they know not what they do. And it's true. It's very true. How, and not just children, but adults too, to have a certain level of awareness where you're seeing people act in a certain way, do certain things. And if you can empathize, whether you've been there before or you're essentially understanding what's going on, where, okay, they're having temporary moments of weakness, temporary moments of fear, of anxiety, etc. They know not what they do. It just is what it is. And these are certainly virtues, instillations that are easier said than done. But of course, I'm talking about all of this for a reason. To be able to understand challenging situations for what they are. The push is natural. The challenge is natural. The short-term conflict is natural. To live it out, to go through it, to survive it is natural. We don't have to put any labels on it, any assumptions of why the person's doing that, how this came about, etc., 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 etc. It is what it is. You're in the moment. There is challenge going on. Am I up for the challenge? And when I say yes, when we say yes, we become better, and more specifically, when we stiffen our resolve, like working a muscle, the actions become easier. The responses come easier as time goes on. I want that to be the drive home point. Because you can certainly say, why? Why handle challenges head on and with grace and composure and patience? Like, why? Why? Because, like working a muscle, not only do you get stronger, the tension, the challenges, the resistance, you blow past it easier and easier the more that you stretch this muscle, the more that you strengthen yourself in terms of being open for the challenge, facing it, and going through it. It may be tough the first 5, 10, 12, plus or minus 20, plus or minus 30, plus or minus times. But each time that you're willing to do it and that you actually go through it, it's getting easier and easier. In the sense that you become more and more ready for tougher, more intense challenges, right? So right after I said it gets easier and easier, what I can say to give it a fuller context is there's a certain point where you can get to a very similar challenge that you dealt with, and you realize that you're handling it with more ease and more grace. And whether you notice it, whether it's conscious or subconscious, you're finding yourself in more challenging situations. So you may have this feeling of, well, life just seems like it never gets easier. Or are these situations just more and more challenging, and you're buffing up, and these higher and greater challenges are presenting themselves to you, and you're not really noticing that they were tougher challenges than the weeks before, because you got stronger, because you got more adept, you got better all along the way. So these challenges, whether they're the same challenges that are getting easier and easier and easier, or greater and greater challenges that you're just a general level of ready to go, natural challenge is necessary, and it feeds you and it strengthens you. And the question simply becomes, in each of those moments, successive moments, now and in the future, are you ready for more? Are you willing to do more? Are you able to do more? Are you up for more? Challenge, tension, resistance. Are you up for more? As I ask those questions to myself, I'm like, yeah. Today was a tough day. Those previous days were tough days. Those previous years were tough years. And I just have a general level of natural, humble pride that I've come this far. The challenges are not necessarily becoming easier, but I'm ready for deeper and more challenges. My resilience is getting better and better. Instead of me absolutely crashing at the end of the day, and in the past, I would take certain substances to pacify me, and I'm not doing that anymore. I'm finding better and better ways to rest. I am finding better and better ways to console myself. I'm finding better and better ways to nourish myself, to rest, so that not only do I not need these certain substances anymore, I'm able to maintain my energy, I'm able to gain energy, and I'm able to do more throughout the day. This is possible for everyone. In little ways here and there, in little bits here and there, finding ways where we need to rest more, finding ways where we can drop the mental, emotional stuff a little bit here and there, more and more, so that less energy is spent from that. Gaining energy from exercising. It seems counterintuitive until you realize it for yourself. Oh wow, doing certain physical things you would think is spending energy, so I'm losing it. But in a sense, you're loosening yourself up, you're pumping yourself up, and then you're getting more energy. So all of that and even more ways to conserve energy, to rest, to gain energy, to put things into perspective mentally, emotionally, so that you're not spending more energy than is needed. Little bits and ways here and there over the days, over the hours, over the weeks, over the months, finding these ways. Whew. All right, let's end the video with some respects so that I can do some R&R, snacking, drinking, hanging out at the park, grounding, all that good stuff. Respect to you, respect to me, for us moving forth with these challenges, with this tension, with this resistance, the stuff that is natural and necessary. The more and more we're into the challenge and up for it and giving ourselves grace and patience, but still facing it, respect. Respect to life in general, the fact that we have this multifaceted experience machine called a human body, soul, heart, aura, all this stuff. Respect to the nature, the elements, fire, air, earth, water, the sun, the moon, the atmosphere, the food and water, the shelter that's keeping us sustained and helping us thrive. Respect. Woo! This is Mac 11. Catch you later.